Okay.
That's what I think.
Yep, and it's recording.
Perfect.
Yay!
I'm so glad. It is amazing on how much we have learned
hmm
and come so far. So I just want to welcome everyone today. I'm Janice Carey. I'm the minister at Unity of Fort Pierce, and we're having a conversation today with our board president, Julia Baginski, and soon to be a Unity minister. She's on her path to this exciting adventure, and I am so pleased to have this conversation with you, Julia.
Me too. Thank
And
you.
especially this time in our, people say, we're in the most challenging of times. You've heard that, right?
Yes.
And what I would like to delve into is how would Myrtle Fillmore, well, how would she live in this situation? Because she is obviously she is our co-founder of Unity. And in my thinking, knowing, as the co-founder of Unity, she discovered a way of living in the world with such joy and clarity because she knew who she was.
I was just thinking that one mind. Yeah, she absolutely knew who she was.
She knew who she was, and so she didn't have to have anything change because, during the times that she and Charles lived, see if you agree with me or not. Has there ever been a time, a generation that hasn't faced incredible challenges?
Right.
And even though we're facing this pandemic and we're facing the tensions of the racial unrest, what she would have us look at is, let's see how we can see this in a higher way so that we can evolve, because everything that's happening is a reflection of our race consciousness.
Yeah.
And we're born for such a time.
That's true. And she was what I love about Myrtle is I feel that she's so practical. And if you really get into Myrtle, it's like she gives you these little tips because she's one of the new thought leaders that really felt that you could practice yourself into Christ consciousness, versus you either are or you aren't. And she kind of set out, this is how you do it. So I love talking about her and kind of reminding myself of those little, I call them tips, but her words of wisdom that help us to be in harmony and aligned no matter what, the schedule of the day is.
And if we go back to even the days that she lived, we have to remember how the mindset at that time about Christianity and God and Jesus, it was so much more separate than even it is today. There's so many people today who see God as, unconditional love and everywhere present. But at that time, I believe it was very much a God out there and separate from us, and a God that you had to supplicate. And she just did not see a God of what we would call fire and brimstone. She felt God, which she also, I'm sure, thought of as Jesus, was a God of love, unconditional love. And I think right there, that was the beginning. And the moment she discovered the God of love, then she discovered that she could, as you said, presence herself into that love.
Yeah.
And if we presence ourselves into that love, then our life just takes on so much more of a richness and beauty. And we are able to walk through the fire a little more.
Yeah.
With a higher perception. So I would love to, if we just begin a little bit with the daily word.
Okay.
And I think today's is very perfect for us. The daily word is life. And my life makes a difference in the world. I am rich in spiritual inheritance, and I use my life to express my divine qualities. I'm not limited to the body I inhabit. While I am blessed with physical senses to experience life, I know there is so much more to me. I use the gift that is my life to express those qualities for the betterment of myself, other people, and the world. I am a unique spiritual expression of God. I am imbued with the capacity to demonstrate love and faith. I am blessed with a loving heart, understanding mind, strong spirit, and giving nature. I choose to make a difference in this world as I use my gifts, talents, and passions for the benefit of others. God is in me and I am in God. Life is in me and I am in life. And from John 6:63, it is the spirit that gives life.
Mm.
So I just particularly liked this daily word today with us talking about Myrtle, because I think one of the things she so wanted to give people was the awareness that God was life and
Oh,
love.
absolutely. And if you read, I know you read it. I've been reading How to Let God Heal You, and she straight up says God is principle, and she makes a very big point of, this distinction of, not seeing God as having any kind of human characteristics whatsoever, with, like a mood that can change, and things like that. But when she starts talking about God as principle, exactly what you said, God is life, love, and we embody those qualities, and those are our powers as we express God.
Right. But first, we have to invite people to question their initial belief systems.
Yeah, of course.
And that's I feel that's done by as we show up with unconditional love and acceptance.
Yeah.
So there's something I'd like to read. This is from, of course, Myrtle Fillmore's Healing Letters.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we can just talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
And she says, if a person would be healed and would keep getting younger and more vigorous and alert and ready for what the times demand of us, he must wake up and get out of the rut, change his habits, appropriate the life elements in food, in the sunshine, and especially in true statements, and prove that he is awake. Instead of thinking about his apparent condition of the race thoughts with which he may have been struggling, or his age, he is to concentrate all of his attention upon God, that he may become so aware of his presence and his perfect pattern of life and his qualities that he will forget old errors and dissolve the condition that he himself has built up from dependence on something or somebody outside himself. God is the one perfect life flowing through us. God is the one pure substance out of which our organism is formed.
Yeah. Wow. And that's so applicable to today. It's like
Exactly.
to everything. And, Myrtle, so in case people don't know, Myrtle faced a challenge, and it was a health challenge. And when she lived, basically she had a death sentence. I mean,
Yes.
she got tuberculosis as a teenager and wasn't supposed to survive past a few years, past several years, but she lived well into her 80s. And so she experienced that transformation, that healing. So a lot of what she talks about, we really can relate back to, healing and wholeness. And I see that so applicable to today because we always have an opportunity to shift. And I think that's always what she's talking about is, do you accept that struggle and that limitation as the real, or do you turn to God for truth? You know, and she's always kind of giving you this little, you have a choice here. You have, it's a little juxtaposition.
And you know, she had gone to a lecture by this Evie Weeks, and she had heard that I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit illness, but I inherit health. And that just awareness, just as you said, that yes, we have to accept what we are at this moment. However, we have the power within us to look above that and to claim that health is our truth, prosperity is our truth, wisdom is our truth. And we put ourselves in alignment with that, with those absolute truths, those powers within us. And that does, as you say, it shifts us, and she says, it shifted her above the negation of the world.
Yeah.
You know, so what a
I love
genius.
her. I love
What a genius.
a genius, yes.
She was a genius. And she writes here, this was Charles writing. In the morning, immediately upon awakening, take a quiet meditative thought. A good foundation statement to hold in the silence is, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. O Jehovah, my rock and my redeemer. Think of the meaning of these words as you meditate on them. For me, the Fillmores and Unity in particular gave me the Bible, because when we read it metaphysically, when we see it spiritually, it makes so much sense, and it is so practical.
Yeah.
And again, it's about enhancing our life this time, today, our life that we're in the world, but not of it.
Yeah. You know, we said that Myrtle was big on child of God, right?
Yes.
And that was her, if there's one Myrtle affirmation, it's, yeah, I'm a child of God and I do not inherit illness. And when I really, you know, my personal relationship with that affirmation, I am a child of God, continues to evolve. You know, it really does, because I could say it, I could say I'm a child of God, and I can have some feeling about that, right? And the deeper that I go in that, you know, really having a feeling, and I don't know, you know, my personal background is my mom died 11 years ago, you know, and my dad's kind of been in and out. So I think I had a spiral of some sort that got me really deeper in child of God, where I really feel like God as parent, which to me that had a different kind of feeling than I'm a child of God. But when you really get God as my parent, you know, and really having a sense of being held by the universe, you know, if more people could really get that, that is really the truth. You know, if God is my parent, God is everyone's parent, you know, what more unifying experience could we all have to know that we're all equal brothers and sisters, we're all the same, we're all a child of God, but God is our parent. So I always go back to those kinds of affirmations, because I do grow. It's not just, you know, one thing, it's an evolution for me. And that's been a big one that I've evolved personally around one of her affirmations.
I think it's so beautiful that in Unity that we are allowed to have the evolution.
Yeah.
You know, because that is one of the things, I'm not going to quote it perfectly, but I remember Charles Fillmore saying something, I have the right to change my mind. When someone had questioned him, in one book he said one thing, and in another book he stated another. And isn't it not our human ego that then comes up and says, well, why did you say it here one way and here you said it another way? And is it okay that we change our mind? When we evolve, we change our mind. I mean, look at our society today. It's changing. It
Mhm.
has to change. It's being forced to change. We could say it's a metaphysical global 2x4.
Right.
It's a global metaphysical 2x4.
They say that change is the only constant.
Right, right,
You
right,
have to learn to move with the change. You can't hold on because, yeah.
right. And so we have to become more childlike and allow these changes because, children are not really having, at least my experience with my grandchildren, they're not really having a hard time right now. I mean, yes, they would like to go back to school and they'd like to see their friends, but they're also happy. I mean, they're playing, they're fine. Um, there's a story that a preschool took took the children out in the woods, and they were to pick up um, dead things like leaves and
Yeah.
little bones from animals and stones, and they were like on an ecological hunt, right? So they come back with all these little treasures, and one child brought a leaf and is turning it over, and it was all dried and rusty and rustly, and he said, instead of being sad for the leaf, he said, oh, look, this leaf is making way for the new little buds to come. That little shift
Yeah.
of life changes. And, you know, we don't know what occurs next.
Mhm.
And could we have the faith to know, as, Julian Norwick always said, all is well,
So,
all is well. All manner of things shall be well.
mhm.
So I love, love, love going back and looking at some of these passages from Myrtle, Mother Myrtle,
Yeah.
because they bring us right back to the heart of the matter.
Yeah. Compassion.
Yes,
Yeah.
compassion and love and forgiveness.
Yeah. It's so, and so much of, compassion is having compassion for ourselves. And I think one of the things that I learned from Myrtle as well, in terms of compassion, is, when, and she talks about this a lot and how to let God heal you. But it's in, when you have for somebody else that you perceive a shortcoming in someone else, right? To have compassion, always have compassion for that. But what that's really doing, it's not like externalizing your compassion out there. What it really does is it shifts you back. That compassion works on you, it works on your inner being and your consciousness to put you back in harmony with your I amness. Because it's really never about the out there. It's the compassion is always to, put yourself back into harmony and alignment and for healing. It's like she almost like gives you that little bit that you can understand from an external perspective. But what she's doing is she's training you to restore your own inner harmony. So,
Yes, everything. Again, I know what she says is everything in the world, that everything that shows up in our life is for us to notice what's happening within us.
yeah.
It's for us to heal what's in us, because what's in the world is just a reflection of what's going on. And I know that when I worked at Silent Unity, the prayers that would come in were usually, quite often, I would get calls on what I needed to hear myself say for myself. That's the vibration, the vibrational, the phones would literally ring to
Oh, wow.
where I needed to respond to this particular person. And we would talk about that. It was just amazing how each one of us would get calls that we needed to hear ourselves speak so that we could get out of our own rut about what was happening in our lives.
Wow.
We're that connected vibrationally. It's just amazing.
Yeah. How cool.
Yeah. So on that note, my dear, I've just really appreciated sharing some time with you today.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do this again, and perhaps we'll do use another book and just bring to light things that help us stay centered, things that help us remember. And I love the practice that Brother Lawrence talked about, practicing the presence. Just practicing the presence even when you're peeling a potato, and allow ourselves to feel that divine presence right here and right now as we communicate.
Yeah. Being grateful, because it's a gift to get to be here and experience this. Regardless, you just have to stay in touch with that we're blessed to be living these lives.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And remember that every generation had their challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Every generation, every person has it.
Well, and I think on some level, we wanted to go through this. I think on some level, it's all necessary for everything. There's not a good or bad, really. It's just,
It just is.
in divine order.
we claim divine order is
Yeah.
working in and through this to bring about an opening of the heart, and a moving from such a materialism to a collaborative society, a collaborative multicultural society that works together for the highest and best of all life. All life. Isn't it amazing just to think that all life is a reflection of the one God, one life? Every creature is a reflection of the one life. And that's what Myrtle knew. And that's the consciousness that heals and allows us to evolve into knowing the truth that we are love incarnate. Can we let that love out? So,
Awesome.
well, namaste, my friend. I so appreciate this time.
Me too.
And yes, it was fun. Thank you so much.